All right, so today we're going to do a deep dive that you guys specifically requested into the FTX collapse.
Oh, yeah. This is a good one.
This one's a doozy, and we've got some excerpts from Wikipedia articles ready to go.
Okay, cool.
And yeah, this one gets wild. So FTX was this giant in the crypto world, right?
Yeah, they were huge.
Valued at like $32 billion.
It's crazy how much value was just like poof.
And then poof, bankrupt.
Yeah, just like that.
How does that even happen?
Well, that's what we're here to find out.
Let's find out.
It's so interesting because it all happens so fast.
Yeah.
Like, it went from being this, like, the darling child of crypto to, like, this big cautionary tale in what felt like the blink of an eye.
Okay, so first things first, FTX was a cryptocurrency exchange.
Right.
Think of it like a stock market, but instead of buying and selling stocks,
Yeah.
you're trading digital currencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum and Dogecoin, all that stuff.
All the fun stuff.
All the fun stuff. And it was founded by this guy, Sam Bankman-Fried, back in 2019.
Right? Bankman-Fried, yeah, he had this whole vision,
Yeah.
of, like, democratizing finance, making crypto accessible to everyone.
I remember that.
He had cut his teeth in the crypto world, actually, with another company he founded
Okay.
called Alameda Research,
Oh, yeah.
which was a firm that traded crypto. And when he launched FTX in 2019, he kind of hit the market at the perfect time.
Yeah, he did. It was like
Yeah.
everything was just...
It was the gold rush.
Yeah.
Time for crypto. It was booming.
Yeah, the crypto market was exploding around 2021, and FTX was right there riding the waves.
Oh, yeah.
They became a major player almost overnight. But you know what they say about things that grow too fast?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes the, crucial structural elements get overlooked a little bit when you have that type of meteoric rise.
Right.
And for FTX, their rapid growth might have masked some, like, fundamental vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
And these vulnerabilities were closely tied to Bankman-Fried's other venture, Alameda Research.
Ah, yes, Alameda. This is where the plot thickens. In November of 2022, CoinDesk dropped this bombshell report
Oh, yeah?
that revealed that a lot of Alameda's assets
Yeah.
were heavily concentrated in FTT, which this was FTX's own token.
FTT, that's right.
So their own
Yeah.
in-house.
Which is weird.
Yeah, so...
And it's important to understand why this raised, like, red flags.
Okay, yeah.
Because imagine a situation where, like, a bank's primary asset is its own stock. That's...
So it's not just weird, it was actually dangerous.
Yeah, it's a very precarious situation. It's
Right.
akin to, like, a house of cards. If the value of FTT were to drop significantly,
Oh, yeah.
it could trigger this chain reaction and potentially destabilize the whole FTX ecosystem.
Wow.
And to understand, like, the gravity of this, we need to compare it to traditional markets.
Okay.
Bloomberg had an article at the time,
Yeah.
and it was highlighting how in traditional finance, this kind of close relationship between a trading firm and an exchange would be met with intense regulatory scrutiny,
Oh, wow.
like potentially even deemed illegal.
Yeah.
It's simply too risky.
Right. And remember, we're talking about billions of dollars of customer funds that FTX was handling.
Oh, yeah. Billions with a B.
Then the Wall Street Journal published an article revealing that FTX had lent billions of these customer funds to Alameda.
Oh, my gosh.
That's not just shady, it's a massive breach of trust.
It's like if you deposited your money in a bank and they secretly lent it out to a risky venture
Right.
without your knowledge or consent.
Wild.
This revelation was a game changer.
Right.
And it set the stage for the rapid downfall that was about to unfold.
Okay, so this is where Binance, another major player in the crypto exchange world,
Right.
led by Changpeng Zhao, better known as CZ, enters the picture.
Yep.
Now, there was already a bit of a rivalry brewing between CZ and Bankman-Fried, with CZ being quite vocal in his criticism of FTX's practices.
Yeah, CZ was not shy about his feelings about FTX.
And that context is important because when Binance made the announcement that they were selling off all of their FTT holdings, it sent shockwaves through the crypto world.
Like, can you imagine if, like, a major bank suddenly announced it was dumping all of its shares
Right.
in a company it had previously been backing?
Yeah.
It's a vote of no confidence and people pay attention.
It must have been total chaos.
Right.
Everyone's watching the FTT price plummet.
Yeah, and then boom.
And then boom, the classic bank run scenario plays out. People are scrambling to withdraw their funds from FTX as fast as they can.
You got it.
Yeah.
It was the digital equivalent of a bank run with everyone rushing to get their money out before it was too late.
And remember that shaky foundation we talked about
Oh, yeah.
with Alameda's assets heavily tied to FTT?
Uh-huh.
Well, this mass exodus of funds was the earthquake that brought the whole structure crashing down.
Exactly.
So Binance throws the first punch by selling their FTT.
Yep.
Panic sets in, and then they consider stepping in to buy FTX and stabilize the situation.
Well, initially, yeah, there were discussions of a potential acquisition by Binance, which could have potentially stemmed the bleeding. However, once they delved deeper into FTX's financial situation, what they discovered was not pretty.
I bet. It was probably like opening Pandora's box. What did they find that made them back out of the deal so quickly?
It was a financial black hole.
Oh my God.
Reports surfaced of massive commingling of funds between FTX and Alameda, with billions of dollars in customer deposits seemingly vanished.
Wow.
It quickly became apparent that this wasn't just a case of poor risk management. It was a full-blown financial disaster.
So even for Binance, known for its aggressive moves in the crypto world, this was just too much to handle.
It was. What happened next? Well, faced with this financial abyss, Binance backed out of the deal. It was a stark realization that the problems at FTX were far more expensive than initially thought.
Right.
With their would-be savior pulling out, FTX had no other option but to halt withdrawals. Can you imagine the panic among those who had their funds stuck on the platform?
It must have felt like the rug had been pulled out from under them. What options did FTX have at that point?
Well, with withdrawals frozen and no viable rescue plan, FTX was staring down the barrel of bankruptcy.
Oh, jeez.
They filed for Chapter 11, which is a process that allows companies to restructure and hopefully emerge from the financial wreckage.
Okay, so Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Can you unpack that a little for us? What does that actually mean for FTX?
Yeah.
And more importantly, for their customers who are now left wondering if they'll ever see their money again.
Well, Chapter 11 bankruptcy is essentially a legal lifeline for companies facing insolvency.
Okay.
It allows them to pause debt payments and reorganize their finances under court supervision. The goal is to create a plan to pay back creditors as much as possible.
Right.
But there's no guarantee that everyone will get everything they're owed.
So it's a long shot, but there's still a glimmer of hope for those who lost money in the FTX collapse.
Right. The bankruptcy proceedings are incredibly complex.
Yeah.
And can take years to resolve.
Oh, gosh.
John J. Ray III, the seasoned restructuring expert who famously oversaw the Enron bankruptcy, was brought in to lead FTX through this process.
Okay.
His assessment of the situation was blunt and sobering. Billions in customer funds missing.
Yikes.
A complete failure of corporate controls.
Those aren't exactly reassuring words. It sounds like he was walking into a total disaster zone.
He was.
Right.
And this wasn't just a contained implosion.
Right.
The reverberations from FTX's downfall were felt throughout the entire crypto market.
Oh, geez.
Triggering what can only be described as a financial contagion.
So it's like that domino effect you mentioned earlier.
Exactly.
FTX falls, and then other companies start to wobble and crash as well.
Precisely. Remember BlockFi?
AdFi?
The crypto lending platform? They had significant exposure to FTX.
Yeah.
And when FTX went down, it triggered a liquidity crisis for BlockFi, ultimately leading to their own bankruptcy filing.
And it wasn't just BlockFi, was it? Other companies got caught in the crossfire as well, right?
Unfortunately, yes. Genesis.
Oh, yeah.
Another major player in the crypto lending space was forced to freeze withdrawals, creating a ripple effect for their partners, including the Gemini exchange.
Oh, right.
Run by the Winklevoss twins.
Yeah.
The entire crypto market was in a state of panic.
This whole situation really highlights how interconnected the crypto ecosystem is, doesn't it?
Yeah.
One major player falls, and the shockwaves can be felt across the entire industry.
Absolutely. And let's not forget about Silvergate Bank.
Oh, yeah.
A traditional financial institution that had positioned itself as a bridge between the crypto world and the traditional banking system.
Right.
When FTX imploded, fears about Silvergate's exposure to the crypto market sent investors fleeing, ultimately leading to the bank's collapse.
So even institutions outside the immediate crypto space weren't immune to the fallout.
Yeah.
It really underscores how a loss of trust in one part of the system can have far-reaching consequences. But what about the human cost of all this? We're talking about billions of dollars lost, not just by big institutions, but by ordinary people who put their savings into FTX.
You're absolutely right. The human element of this story can't be overstated. We're talking about thousands of people, some who lost their entire life savings.
Oh, gosh.
Their dreams shattered by FTX's collapse.
That's awful.
The Wikipedia article mentions heartbreaking stories of individuals who were left financially devastated, their trust in the crypto industry completely broken.
It's a stark reminder that behind the charts and graphs and financial jargon, there are real people whose lives have been profoundly impacted by this. But let's shift gears a bit and talk about the legal ramifications.
Okay,
I imagine the legal battles are pretty intense.
you can say that again. The legal fallout from the FTX collapse has been nothing short of a whirlwind.
Yeah.
Multiple investigations were launched by authorities around the world,
Right.
including the Royal Bahamas Police Force, where FTX was headquartered,
Uh-huh.
and the U.S. Attorney's Office in New York.
And Sam Bankman-Fried himself is at the center of all this.
Yes?
Facing a mountain of charges, right?
That's right. Bankman-Fried was arrested and extradited to the U.S.,
Wow.
where he faces a litany of charges including wire fraud,
Uh-huh.
conspiracy to commit money laundering,
Jeez.
and violations of campaign finance laws.
Wow.
The charges paint a picture of a company operating with blatant disregard for the law, using customer funds for personal gain and risky ventures.
It's hard to believe that someone who was once hailed as a visionary in the tech world is now facing serious prison time. But it's not just Bankman-Fried in the legal hot seat, is it? Weren't other key figures from FTX and Alameda also implicated?
Absolutely. Gary Wang, the co-founder of FTX, and Caroline Ellison, the former CEO of Alameda Research,
Okay.
have also faced charges.
Yeah.
Both have pleaded guilty and agreed to cooperate with the authorities.
So they're essentially turning state's evidence, hoping for leniency in exchange for their cooperation. That's a
Yeah.
big deal, isn't it? It could potentially shed light on what was happening behind the scenes at FTX and Alameda.
Their cooperation is significant. They were insiders,
Yeah.
privy to the inner workings of both companies, and their testimony could prove invaluable in uncovering the full extent of the wrongdoing.
And speaking of wrongdoing, there were those mysterious withdrawals from FTX during the bankruptcy proceedings, weren't there? I remember reading something about that. What was the story there?
Ah, yes. Those withdrawals raised eyebrows and fueled speculation about hacking or insider sabotage.
Uh-huh.
Investigations revealed that while some unauthorized access did occur,
Yeah.
the majority of the missing funds were likely transferred out by FTX insiders prior to the bankruptcy filing.
So it sounds less like a hack and more like a desperate attempt to salvage what they could before the ship completely sank.
Possibly.
But beyond the criminal charges, aren't there also a ton of civil lawsuits in play?
You bet FTX's collapse has spawned a complex web of civil litigation,
Yeah.
with investors and creditors seeking to recover their losses.
Right.
It's a legal feeding frenzy, with everyone trying to get a piece of what little remains of FTX's assets. And at the heart of all this is John J. Ray III,
Uh-huh.
the bankruptcy trustee, tasked with the Herculean task of untangling this financial mess.
So he's basically trying to make sense of a giant, chaotic financial jigsaw puzzle with half the pieces missing.
That's a pretty accurate analogy.
Yeah.
He has to identify assets, track down missing funds,
Right.
and determine who gets paid back and how much.
Right.
It's a monumental task,
Yeah.
and the outcome of these legal battles will have a significant impact on the future of the crypto industry.
Speaking of impact, we can't overlook FTX's aggressive marketing strategy. Remember all those high-profile sponsorships they had?
Oh, yeah.
Sports teams, celebrities, FTX seemed to be everywhere. What happened to all those deals when the company imploded?
It was a PR disaster.
Right.
Tom Brady,
Tom Brady.
Shaquille O'Neal,
Jax.
Giselle Bundchen,
Yeah.
they were all associated with FTX at one point.
Wow.
And then there's the infamous Miami Heat arena debacle.
Oh, yeah.
FTX paid a fortune to have the arena named after them. But after the collapse, the Heat quickly cut ties and scrambled to find a new sponsor.
Can you imagine the awkward conversations? Hey, remember that innovative crypto exchange we partnered with?
Right?
Well, it turns out they weren't so innovative after all, and now they're bankrupt. So we need to rename the arena.
It's a stark reminder that even the most glamorous partnerships can turn sour when a company's foundation is built on quicksand.
Uh-huh.
And the irony is that FTX was reportedly in talks with Taylor Swift for a massive sponsorship deal.
Oh, wow. I can't even imagine Taylor Swift headlining the FTX Eras tour. I guess she dodged a bullet there.
Indeed. The collapse of these sponsorship deals
Yeah.
and the ripple effect on companies like BlockFi and Silvergate really highlight the far-reaching consequences of FTX's implosion.
Right.
It wasn't just a crypto story. It was a story about the dangers of unchecked ambition, the fragility of trust, and the need for greater accountability in the digital age.
It's definitely a cautionary tale for the entire tech and financial world, not just crypto. But in the midst of all the chaos and the legal battles, there's also an opportunity to learn from this and build a more resilient and responsible system. So what can we take away from this whole FTX saga? What lessons can we apply to the future of cryptocurrency? It's easy to get lost in all the drama and the headlines with this whole thing,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
but I think the FTX collapse raises some fundamental questions about the future of crypto. Like, what lessons can we as investors, as users, as anyone interested in this space take away from this whole ordeal?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think one of the biggest takeaways is the importance of transparency.
Right.
FTX operated in a very opaque way, and that lack of transparency allowed them to get away with practices that were, frankly, reckless.
Yeah. It's almost like they were operating in the shadows, right? And when the light finally shone on their operations, the whole thing crumbled.
Yeah, exactly.
So what does this mean for other crypto companies? Do you think we'll see a push for greater transparency across the board?
I
Yeah.
think investors are going to be much more wary now,
Right.
and they're going to demand greater accountability.
Yeah.
They're going to want to know where their money is going, how it's being used, who's in control.
Right.
Companies that are willing to be open and transparent about their operations will be the ones that gain trust and ultimately succeed.
Okay, so transparency is key, but isn't there also a role for regulation here?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, for years, the crypto industry has resisted calls for more regulation, arguing that it would stifle innovation.
Hmm.
But after what happened with FTX, do you think that argument still holds water?
It's a complex issue, but I think there's a recognition now, even among many in the crypto community, that some level of regulation is necessary.
Yeah.
It's not about stifling innovation.
Right.
It's about creating a level playing field,
Right.
protecting investors, and ensuring the stability of the market.
Right. It's about striking that balance between fostering innovation and preventing the kind of reckless behavior that led to the FTX collapse. So what kind of regulations are we talking about here? What would a well-regulated crypto market look like?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And there's no easy answer.
Of course.
But I think some key areas need to be addressed.
Okay.
For example, we need clear guidelines on how customer funds should be handled and segregated from company assets.
Right.
We need regulations around stablecoins,
Uh-huh.
which play a crucial role in the crypto ecosystem, but have also been a source of concern.
Right.
And we need more robust mechanisms for anti-money laundering and combating illicit activities.
It sounds like a lot of this is about bringing crypto more in line with traditional finance, at least in terms of basic safeguards and consumer protections. Does that mean the Wild West days of crypto are over?
Well, I think the days of completely unregulated crypto are definitely numbered.
Yeah.
The FTX collapse was a wake-up call, not just for regulators, but for the entire industry.
Right.
We're entering a new era of crypto, one where accountability, transparency, and compliance will be paramount.
So it's like the growing pains of a new industry, right? It starts out wild and free, but as it matures, it needs to develop rules and structures to ensure its long-term stability and sustainability.
Right.
But even with all these challenges, I still feel like there's a lot of excitement and potential in the crypto space.
I agree. I think the underlying technology of blockchain and cryptocurrencies is incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
It has the potential to revolutionize everything from finance and supply chain management to voting and digital identity.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that potential is still very much alive, even in the wake of the FTX collapse.
So this isn't the end of crypto, it's just a turning point, a chance to reset and rebuild.
Exactly. And I think the companies that embrace this new reality, the ones that prioritize transparency, security, and compliance, will be the ones that ultimately thrive.
So what advice would you give to someone who's interested in crypto but maybe feeling a little hesitant after all the FTX drama?
I would say don't let one bad apple spoil the whole bunch.
Yeah.
Do your research, choose reputable platforms and projects, and be wary of promises that sound too good to be true.
Right.
Crypto is still a relatively young and volatile space, but it's also incredibly innovative and exciting.
It's like any new frontier, right? There are risks, but there are also tremendous opportunities. And as we wrap up this deep dive into the FTX saga, I think the most important takeaway for me is the importance of staying informed and being critical. We can't just blindly trust any company or individual in this space. We need to ask questions, demand transparency, and hold those in power accountable.
Well said.
Well,
The future of crypto is still being written, and it's up to all of us to ensure that it's a future built on trust, integrity, and responsible innovation.
and on that note, I think we'll leave it there. This has been a wild ride, but I hope you found it informative and thought-provoking. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and keep diving deep.